A year ago, I had $0 in my bank account. Not low, not almost empty, zero. And everything changed when I saved my first $100. I had $0, not almost zero, not low balance, zero. No savings, no backup, no plan. Just another paycheck coming and disappearing. And the strange part? I wasn't even surprised, because when something happens to you long enough, it stops feeling like a problem and starts feeling normal. You wake up, you work, you get paid, and somehow you're still broke. Not because you're lazy, not because you're stupid, but because no one ever taught you how money actually works. So you do what everyone else does. You spend small things, things that don't feel important. A coffee, a subscription, a quick order. Nothing big enough to regret, but just enough to keep you exactly where you are. And one day, you check your account, and it hits you. You have nothing, not just in your bank, but in your control. That was the moment for me. Not dramatic, not emotional, just quiet. And that's where it started. Not with a big plan, not with some financial strategy, not even with motivation. Just a decision. I decided to save $100. Now here's the problem. $100 doesn't feel like a goal. It feels meaningless, too small to matter, too big to ignore. And that's exactly why most people never start, because they're waiting for something bigger. More money, more time, more certainty. But here's the truth. That moment never comes. So I stopped waiting. I didn't create a budget. I didn't track every expense. I didn't download 10 apps. I just did one thing. Every time I was about to spend money, I paused. Not to stop myself, but to ask one question. Do I actually need this? And most of the time, the answer was no. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because it wasn't moving me forward. So I started small. $5, $10, here and there. Nothing impressive, nothing that would change my life overnight. But something strange started happening. For the first time, I was aware of where my money was going, aware of how often I was spending without thinking. And that awareness, it changed everything. A week passed. I had $23 saved. Not exciting, not impressive, but different, because it didn't disappear. 2 weeks, $41. Still not life-changing, but now it felt real. Because this time, I wasn't starting from zero again. And that's when something shifted, not in my bank account, but in my identity. I wasn't just someone who tried to save. I was someone who was saving. And that difference? It's bigger than money. Because once you change how you see yourself, your behavior follows. A month later, $100. That's it. No big celebration, no dramatic moment. Just a number. But that number meant something. Because for the first time, I proved something to myself. That I could start. And starting is the hardest part. Most people think saving money is about discipline. It's not. It's about identity. If you see yourself as someone who can't save, you won't. But if you see yourself as someone who is building something, even slowly, you act differently, you think differently, and over time, you become different. That $100 didn't change my life, but it changed my direction. Because now, I had proof. Proof that I could delay gratification. Proof that I could stay consistent. Proof that I could choose my future over my present. And once you have that proof, everything else becomes easier. Saving the next $100? Easier. Investing? Possible. Building wealth? Now, it's just a process, not a dream. And here's what most people don't understand. The first $100 is not about money, it's about control. Control over your habits, control over your decisions, control over your future. Because if you can control $100, you can control $1,000. If you can control $1,000, you can control $10,000. It's the same skill, just bigger numbers. So the question isn't how much you make or how much you have. The real question is, can you start? Because the difference between people who build wealth and people who don't isn't intelligence, isn't luck. It's this: they start. Even when it feels small, even when it feels pointless, even when it feels like it won't matter. Because they understand something most people don't. Small actions, repeated consistently, create massive change. And it all begins with your first $100. So the real question is, will you start?